goodness gracious. Could you imagine if I talk like this all the time? Yeah, so anyway, it's Damn Cam, and guess what, folks? We have marched forth. I lived on the middle of a little island. I lived on the middle of a little island. I lived on the middle of a little island. I don't know if you've heard about this yet. This is pretty wild, but apparently the governor of Hawaii is stepping down. I don't understand. So the governor of Hawaii is stepping down, and President Donald Trump is apparently going to be filling in for Josh Green, governor of Hawaii. Not sure why or how this is happening. This is insane. Feel however you feel about Donnie T. This is going to bring a whole new shade of orange to the Isle of Big. That is the Big Island. And yes, here in Hawaii, that's where damn talk is. So alright, for real though, alright? Yeah, April 1st, April Fools, you get it. Okay, so we're gonna do just a quick damage report for March. March was full of all sorts of change. It's full of all sorts of progress, uncomfortability, some new programs, some tense conversation, and some more spiritual exploration. That is essentially what has consisted of Damn Cam's Damn March. So we do know that, well, it's 31 days for 8 billion people. So it sounds like a lot of different perspective. There's a lot of things that have happened this month on the worldly note, not the least of which is the ongoing war still between Israel and Hamas. And you know, that all started back on October 7th. Well, actually, that's not true either. It came to a head on October 7th, but it started years and years and decades before that. It's very interesting to see our own naivete play out in real time as we are reading different stories from different people, different points of view. We know very little about this particular conflict. What we do know is that the mainstream media is telling quite a different story than the highways and byways that we follow. So there's some definite disconnect there. Somebody's not reporting accurately. And if history is any indicator, it's most likely the main vein news. Now, that's not to say we are 100% sure that Israel's in the right. We're not. But we do know that, from what we know, Israel's in the right. Yeah, I mean, what else happened? Candace Owens. You might know her. She used to be known as Red Pill Black. And she is a young African-American conservative female, and Candace Owens. She got started back in the 2010s and then kind of came on the map a little more prominently in 2016, maybe, when she was interviewed with her real name, not just Red Pill Black. And since then, she has joined the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's platform. She had her own show on there. It's the second time we've said, They had a large difference of opinion. They did not see eye to eye on this particular conflict we've been discussing. Therefore, their relationship has been terminated. So Candace Owens is no longer at the Daily Wire. We predict that she will do something similar to Tucker Carlson and maybe go to X. We predict that there's a third we predict she may try and just... What if she did her own thing? Started the Candace Owens Network? I mean, I doubt that she will, just because I have serious doubts that she could lift off as well. She's sort of starting out still. She might be a household name in some younger, predominantly conservative areas, though it's interesting. On one hand, we give her props for not just saying what it is her master there at the Daily Wire wanted her to say. And we think that is amazing. We like Candace. Candace, we follow you. We have your book. We actually found a book that you wrote, and we found it here in the thrift store. And it's on our shelf next to a couple others that we really want to read. We have not yet, but we will. So anyway, yeah, Ben Shapiro, we really don't like you very much. Though we will admit that we used to not like you because we didn't like what you said. Now we don't like you because we don't like how you say it. Yeah, it's just your personality, bro. You rub us the wrong way, my friend. And we don't really want to be rubbed the right way either, if it's by you. So, that said, though, we're not trying to be completely rude. We do watch clips here and there of Shapiro's show, and we also appreciate a few of the other creators that he has under his label. And, it is what it is, I suppose. We prefer Matt Walsh to Steven Crowder. In fact, if you've ever heard of Steven Crowder, the guy needs help. So he's got some okay content, but there is content out there that shows that he is not a very spiritually fit individual. And what we mean is he is definitely spiritually sick, like we all are. But the video footage of him interacting with his wife, maybe, his kid's mother, yeah, it shows him maybe unaware of how sick he is, and also maybe unwilling to look at it. So that's neither here nor there. We don't really like getting louder with Crowder, so we prefer Matt Walsh, or you know what? We would even take Shapiro to Crowder. Moving right along here, we were supposed to go to some Pink Floyd show. There was like a Under the Dome planetarium show that was supposed to be just absolutely killer. And we were going to go to that with my sister and my mom. It's like a birthday present thing, but we ended up not going because of this crisis that has resurfaced. And if anybody watching this doesn't have any family problems at all, or you've never experienced conflict within your family, then I want you to go ahead and give us a call or an email, and we want you to come on the show, because we want to talk to the person who is an extreme rarity, the exception to the rule, while the rest of us here are either pretending we don't have these problems, or we're actually doing something about it. Now, maybe that doing something about it doesn't look like sharing it on the internet for everyone to critique, or maybe it does. See, that's all up to you. What we know is, when we're wrong, we like to be aware of when we're wrong. And we also... we're open to making ourselves congruent with the right. In other words, if we find out that what we've been operating from is faulty, if we have come to a conclusion that we shouldn't have, we want to remain open to the possibility that is true, so we can update our firmware. We can, take that new information and apply it as necessary, ultimately changing our own philosophy. And if that doesn't happen, what are we doing? We're not growing, we're not learning, what are we trying to teach people because we feel like we have discovered the way or the truth and we now want to enlighten others? That doesn't really seem like a very viable outcome. So checking our own intentions has been of the utmost importance this month, March 2024, because a lot of times we don't know what's best for us, and almost all of the time we don't know why somebody does or says or behaves the way that they do. Now, if it's just a random hobo at the grocery store cussing me out on the way in, whatever, I don't know you, I can let that slide off of me like guava jelly. If it's, say, the person that raised me from birth, well, that might stick like guava jelly and stain, or get all sticky and make a mess, and then we got to clean it off. And that's essentially where we are. It's not that the hobo's guava jelly don't stain, stink, or smear, but it is that we don't necessarily value the hobo's opinion or position, so we're not going to take it to heart as much. In other words, yes, this damage report basically consists of the damage done when there is unaddressed conflict in a family. When there are issues that have been swept under the rug for prolonged periods of time, they will resurface, they will get worse. And speaking psychologically here, at least in clinical psychology, they say if you have a problem that is resurfacing over the period of 18 months, causing you to still think about it 18 months later, it's something that needs to be addressed differently than you have so far, because obviously your way of addressing it thus far has not worked. You're still thinking about it. Well, if you sit down and you're honest with yourself and you examine your life, looking for those things that stick out from longer than 18 months ago, you'll probably find a few. And then you can look and ask yourself, is this worth me making myself uncomfortable to try and resolve this? If it involves another person, is it worth having them in my life? Do I want everything that comes with having them in my life? And is it worth everything that comes with what has to be done to get us to that place? And if the answer is yes to both of those, then you're in a unique position, because at least from what we've been instructed, most families are not willing to go to this family therapy type of environment and get help from an outside source. Most families, as in, not everybody in the family, it will be willing. But in our case, we have an entire family of people who have their own problems, as well as a smorgasbord of, family soiree that we can address. So there will be more to come, more to be revealed, as they say. That's what's really taken up our March. And now that April's here, it's safe to say this month will hopefully bring with it some progress. Maybe not resolution yet, but, maybe. It's one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 month at a time. In the Hove, working our recovery is discovery is recovery at that damn talkspot.locals.com. Something else we've done here in the month of March, we actually released roughly 4 hours of just vlogging. Yours truly, telling it how it is in here for us, sharing some experience, strength, hope, fear, maybe a little rowdiness. And we've made that just public. That is on YouTube, Damn Talk. For what we're trying to do is, we want people to have a good idea of who we are. We don't want to be a stranger to anybody. There's a lot of information out there on us, believe it or not. And a lot of it is outdated. Not that it's inaccurate, but it's outdated and not really relevant anymore. And so we have unfortunately had people look us up and then make their mind up about us based on a version of us that is two-dimensional. In other words, like, they're reading stuff about us and they make their mind up. And we just feel like that's not necessarily the healthiest or even the best approach when trying to determine whether or not a human being is worthy of entertaining. and sharing your thoughts. Taking your time to have some sort of a convulgence with yours truly. And if it's not, then hopefully yours truly is at least entertaining in himself, and you can laugh at our crazy antics. That's crazy with a K, by the way. For we have been through the ringer. We've been in the ring, we've thrown uppercuts, and we've flown like a bing. I meant to say bee, because bees are gonna sting. Muhammad Ali, he's got the bling. The bling in the heart, not the bling on a string. We talking about the kind that you would know what you mean. You know that the scene is what it is, because it isn't what it isn't.
Consequences of not saying what was true. It's like whatever hell you might fall into by opening your mouth when you have something to say that isn't popular, it's nothing like the hell that you're going to envelop yourself in if you lose control of your own tongue and mind. And like I said, in my clinical practice, I never saw anyone get away with anything even once. And so all you have in a situation like that is what is the truth. Now, of course, you only have your approximations to the truth, but that's better than nothing. You need to be afraid of the right thing, and you should be afraid of contaminating your soul with deceit. That's what you should be afraid of. That will definitely do you in, and I know exactly how. What happens is, garbage in, garbage out, the old programmer saying goes, and so you'll fill your head with nonsense and no one will call you on it except you, but you can still that voice if you try hard enough. You just wait until you get in real trouble.
Do you like that, being controversial? Do you enjoy provoking group?
No, and I don't provoke people. I just say what I believe to be true. No, I don't. I say what I believe to be true, and people find that provoking. That's not the same as me provoking people. If I was provoking people, I would be setting out to upset them. And I'm not setting out to upset them. I'm just setting out to say what I believe to be true.
All right, well, April Fools aside, there are some things that we wish were April Fools jokes, but it's not. It's real. Nothing? Nothing on that one, okay. Yeah, Israel, okay? Israel is, we've addressed that. I mean, there's more. There's a lot more happening. We've kind of narrowed down what it is that we've allowed to be on the damn radar, the damn-dar. So there are some things that we find ourselves thinking and discussing more than others. First on that list is recovery from drugs and alcohol. We find that our hashtag recovery is discovery is recovery has been applied to more videos in March than the hashtag don't just obey, which is for the podcast. So that tells us that we are about it. At the very least, we are about it. Locals.com is where the hub for Damn Talk is. It's that damntalkspot.locals.com. And on there we have a recovery is recovery page that's got a multitude of videos from both us, from our predecessor, as well as different inspirational tidbits of truth from different sources all over the internet. And essentially that has been number one for a while now, and with good reason. Here we are in our 4th year of recovery away from heroin, away from opiates, mainly alcohol, all that, just what we thought was our cure to life's problems. And so we don't see that as something that needs to be corrected. In other words, we don't feel like it's a problem that we are discussing recovery more and more. However, that said, we also want to do two things right now, right away, and that is, one, we acknowledge the show is not about recovery or alcoholism or addiction. You know, that is not what Damn Talk is about. Something we've been really probably a close second when it comes to what we've been discussing lately here, even this year actually, is philosophy. Hashtag SPP, that is a spiritual political philosophy. So firstly, if you're religious, that does not mean that you can't have an SPP. Your SPP might be more of an RPP. However, that's just one letter away from an RPG, and that could blow up. So we recommend that if someone is religious, that is, if you subscribe to a certain set of beliefs that was here before you were, okay? That's what we define as if you're religious. If you subscribe to a set of beliefs that was here before you, then Damn Talk would consider you to be religious. That does not mean that you cannot be spiritual or have it doesn't mean you can't have an understanding of spirituality, of what spiritual nature is, and spiritual sickness. You see, these are terms that we use regularly, whether we're talking about recovery or philosophy, because philosophy is essentially one's mode of thinking and being through life. That is your philosophy. It's a collection of your beliefs and your actions. It's more sophisticated than that. In layman's terms, that's it in a nutshell. We believe that philosophy is regularly influenced by experience. You see, our experience, what it is that we go through, what we're subject to throughout this life, is what helps to make us who we are. And that's not rocket science. It's not profoundly new ideas. We don't claim it is. What we're saying is, when one understands their own philosophy, they are one step closer to understanding God. That's one damn of a claim, and we know that. Follow us here, though. We were very, very little, and we heard that God is everywhere. God knows everything you do. He sees everything. He's always watching, you know. We didn't go to church regularly. We have been to church as a child. We were exposed to a few different denominations. We did say grace at dinner every night around the family table. Neither one of my parents are religious. We have a family, immediate blood family, that is religious. At least Mormon, Christian, those two that we know of. Well, we have always had the most inquisitive of minds, and it's been somewhat of a fault to the extent that we have trouble turning it off sometimes. That's why we self-medicated for so long, or at least presumably partly why. Well, we would constantly search for the answers and the questions. We would search for the right questions to get the right answers, to get the answers we wanted. So when we would ask why it is it that this is like that, or why is it that this happened, or why is it that I am? How's that for one, right? Well, you know, over and above the largely biological scientific explanation of two human beings coming together, and there's the Big Bang, actually. You see, it all started with a Big Bang, right? And this is one of our little cosmically ironic keynotes, I suppose you'd say. We all started from the Big Bang. Not a single one of us alive here didn't come from the Big Bang. And if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm pretty sure you are, though. Yeah, so it's very interesting. We saw in the news last week that apparently scientists are claiming they have debunked, or at least they've gathered evidence that disproves the Big Bang Theory, which we personally know is impossible. How could we possibly know that? Well, it's a question of faith, really, if that is the question you ask. How could we know? And we don't claim to know the absolute truth, all right? We know a very well-fitting piece of our absolute truth. And we came from the Big Bang. My parents came from a different Big Bang. And if we trace all the Big Bangs back to the original biggest bang, well, essentially, the series of images and thoughts that you are now being put through is one that requires further discovery. This is the line of thought that has led much of our adventure, much of our expedition into the unknown. And we venture into the unknown a lot. We have wrestled with morals, ethics, just the fundamental questions of being. And we've wrestled with them for so long that we have actually experienced episodes of schizophrenic-like breaks from reality. And that is shedding ourself so much that we just were. And I am that I am is the truest sentence that we have ever said. And it was all we could say for a pretty good period of days when we forgot our own name. So it's absolutely safe to say that we have at least earned the right to discuss these things experientially. In other words, I argue that because of my life experience in these 32 years, I am qualified enough to speak on what it is I speak on. And speaking without thinking is like shooting without taking aim. That's Dr. Peterson that said that, and how true it is. See, when we go to the range to brush up our skills, we do it with a purpose. We do it with a point, a plan, and we have a procedure that we can execute, and hopefully it's one of the most optimal order. And if not, it is this same sort of critical thinking, this self-examination that has led us to improve in areas that are important enough to us to actually dedicate that attention. And it has also led us to resent ourselves for not working on the parts of ourselves that have been revealed need work for one reason or another. Now, maybe we avoid working on certain aspects of our life because it's extremely uncomfortable. And so we just don't desire to put ourselves through that. And, well, that would mean to us that the reward process is either failing or it's working and it's doing what it should do. What we mean there is, if you want something, then you will get it. And if you don't get it, then you didn't really want it. We would argue that is pretty damn true. Now, it's not always true, because maybe you want to be the inheritor of Oprah Winfrey's assets, okay? Well, that's something that, you could spend your entire life working towards achieving, and you would likely fail. So there is that. Although, nothing is impossible, and maybe you could befriend Miss Winfrey by accidentally running into her on the set one day while you were interning as a part-time barista trying to get coffee for the entire crew, and then you happen to mention something to Oprah that stuck out and built a relationship over the series of 1 to 3 years, happened to evolve into a place where she invited you into her life, you met her children, and you were auntie, and then, well, you can see where we're going. Now, that would take extreme dedication and essentially the sacrificing of one's entire life or any other goals that could be achieved in order to accomplish that. So we would argue that, yes, what we said is true. If you want something and you do not get it, if you want something and you don't get it and you continue to want it, then you probably didn't actually want it to begin with. Now, that's a hell of a statement. So this is philosophy, all right? And we subject ourselves to this sort of linguistic torment on the regular. Fortunately, we're able to refrain from putting those closest to us through this same sort of a torturous endeavor. But not all the time. Sometimes we'll get in the zone, and it's almost like we're channeling these thoughts. It's almost like we can't even speak fast enough to get them out before the new batch of sentences has arrived. That is very interesting to us. Channeling is something that definitely requires further research before we speak on it anymore. But like a channel, you can change the channel of your station. You just want to be aware of what is being broadcast. Who are you allowing into your living room? That sort of thing. So moving along, we've covered recovery is discovery. We've covered philosophy as a whole. And now we'll move to a couple more specific bullet points, if you will. Things that we found ourselves talking about that deserve to be noted here. For if you are completely against listening to people talk about this stuff, then you might not like damn talk. The truth. We're just kidding. If you don't like the truth, you won't like damn talk. Can't say that. No, we were going to say actually aliens. Aliens. If you don't like discussing aliens, then you probably won't vibe with the talk of damn. And when we say aliens, we are actually talking about, we're talking about space aliens, that is extraterrestrials from other dimensions, maybe not space, but it's outer space and then there's space. I mean, we are existing in space. So we have space aliens and we have immigrant aliens, okay? And like 10 years ago, they were just aliens. If you came here to this country illegally, then you were an alien and it needed to be addressed. I mean, you broke the law, you came here, you're now a burden on our society. Even if you are working, you've become a burden. You don't have a social security number. You've cut in front of people who have went through due process for decades and decades and decades. And you've also spit in the face of the pre-constructed set of rules that we all have to abide by. So it is absolute insanity to us to see the current administration of this country, like the people that are leading our country right now and in charge of making the decisions, are letting in so many illegal people. And not only that, but they don't call them illegal anymore. They don't call them aliens anymore. It's like they've changed the language so that they can change how people see the situation. If you change how people see something, are you not changing the thing itself? Well, it's debatable, but we would say no, you're not changing the thing itself. We have had a process here that has worked, and we've had a border that has at least functioned. And now we have the absence of one, and the real just absolute unrecognizable mess that is the other. Why? Well, we have dived into this and we believe we have some answers. Again, we don't like to speak on things that we do not feel qualified to speak on. Doesn't mean we don't. Hey, look at that. Is that a damn talk sign? DT. I'm not sure what that was, but it did say DT. It was pretty cool. So, yeah, it's, sorry, we said DTs. Yeah, this is an addict joke, trying to cater to the part of the audience that came here for the recovery. And for those of you who didn't get that one, you probably have other problems in this lifetime, and our heart goes out to you. For at least we know that we will struggle with this disease, disorder, affliction, dysfunction of addiction for the rest of our life, putting down the dope and trying to get some hope. Now, we wouldn't go so far as to say we're a hope dealer, but if the hat fits. So we do talk about immigration and how that has absolutely changed. We talk about the rise in UFO sightings, as well as a couple of incidents that may or may not have made your map that happened last year. One was actually this year, one was last year. Arguably the two most credible incidents, that credible as in they deserve further examination. One was the Miami Mall incident. That was the latest one. There's a lot of just absolute stupid misinformation out there on that one. The other one is the Las Vegas incident that happened back in May of last year, which is, in our opinion, we've looked into at more length, and we do believe is credible. Absolutely just stunning what happened there in the outskirts of Las Vegas when a craft landed in the backyard of this family. We've covered that story. That's hashtag damn aliens, DAAMN aliens. So, these are just some things that are important enough to us here that we discuss them. Now, number 5, to round out this list that encompasses many, 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 many things. We have socio-economic politics, or SEP, if you will. We don't hashtag SEP because whatever. Socio-economic politics basically means, well, we'll break it down. So we discuss sociology, which means like the study of behaviors in groups of societies, or groups of peoples which constitute societies. We move to the environment, whether that's financial or natural, economic, the economy. There is such a thing as a natural economy, and the natural economy is essentially the order of operations that would be going on if humanity was not here. That is the natural economy. And then the financial economy is the state of the goings-ons because we are here, And then, of course, it ends with the word politics, which is off-putting to loads and loads of people who could care less about politics. We will make the argument very briefly that you just don't understand politics, or maybe you're not associating the correct things with politics when you hear the word. Maybe you think of like Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney or Ted Cruz, or RBG or AOC. It's like, no, that's not politics, okay? That actually, we would consider that to fall more into the socio category. Sociology, how people behave in groups. Politics is a very specific, unique set of parameters that confide the operations in a specific place. So in this country, the politics would also include all of our laws, bylaws, regulations, constitutional amendments, declarations, etc. And that is politics. And so whether one admits to caring about politics or not, politics affects every aspect of your life if you are moving about freely within the Western world. So to not care about it is borderline ignorant, and it is debatably irresponsible. We'll just leave it at that. We're not trying to shame anyone into caring about anything. What we're doing is presenting information the way that we have took it in and then categorized it, sieved through it to see what worked, what was real, what was true, and then ditch the rest, and then present that in such a way that we not only can encapsulate it, we can solidify it in a presentation of visual audio optics. It's like, that is very cool, but we also have the added benefit of listening to ourselves explain our own idea with the pressure of a camera, so that we feel obligated to do it as eloquently, to articulate as best as possible. That is essentially what Damn Talk is. DAAMNTALK, where people precede information. And that's the slogan, because people do precede information here. That is, people come first. We care more about folks. Okay? We care more about the human being, the spirit, the soul, the living biological creature drawing breath, than we do the other. Now, it has a double meaning, because, well, just as we hold folks before facts, we do put facts before folks. That is, we will present people with what we have determined to be factual pieces of information. And then we can discuss or debate said information in a interview style format for all to see. That'll be there forever. We believe this is not only a way to contribute to society, it is also what has worked to keep us moving forward in our own personal recovery, in our own journey. We just celebrated 4 years on March 17th. And by the grace of our God, we don't have to ever go back to that way of life. Our children won't ever have to see their dad high or strung out or drunk. And we will continue to evolve, both philosophically as well as spiritually, physically, and maybe we can bring some more people along for the ride, because what we did in active addiction, well, we certainly brought a lot of people along for the ride. Whether it was our family, our friends, our partners we were with, we put them through the same despair and depravity that we put ourselves through, if not, well, not worse, in some ways different. We took a lot of people along for that ride, and now that we are comfortable with who we are, we actually like Cam today. We're not proud of everything we do or say, or we can look at ourselves and we are comfortable and confident with who we are and what we've been through. And that is something that we will never, ever let anyone take away from us again. We won't give that power away to anyone. That is between us and our HP, our higher power, our power that is definitely greater than we are. We choose to call God. That might just be good, orderly direction for you. As we said, you don't have to be religious, but if you are religious, that does not mean you can't be spiritual. So please, we said the P word, join us. that damn talkspot.locals.com. Starting this month, in approximately 19 days, we will film the very first official episode in studio of Don't Just Obey. That is Damn Talk DJO. Don't just obey, meaning don't just take everything at face value. Don't just obey means question everything. And that's what we've done since we were able to do so. We believe very strongly that there are 3 answers to every question. There are 3 rooms to every... There are 3 rooms to every house. There are 3 doors to every room. And there are 3 sides to every coin. As our predecessor coined, the metaphysical coin, you have more than one person involved in an event. So if there's ever more than one person, it is essentially flipping a coin. Because now there's that baseline reality, there's your reality, there's my reality. Well, whose is real? We can flip that coin, and it could land on my side, it could land on your side, but we will argue, as Nermac did. See, Nermac said that it's actually that thin side of the coin that is the coin itself that is reality. It's the side of the coin that it never actually lands on, but it's both sides at once. And it is that we strive to uncover here and illustrate at Damn Talk. It is that third side that we want to explore and discuss with anyone who's willing, interested, or well-versed in their own belief. We welcome you. We have a hotline that is open every weekend where you can call in. That'll be listed here in the show notes. We also have an incoming phone call. So we'll leave it there. As always, try giving a damn. Well, hey, y'all. Yes, I'm here to tell you this is absolutely insane, okay? Could you imagine if I talked like that all the time? Really, though, okay? March is over.